Thanks, Caroline. So David Black, one of our sponsors of the event from Schwegman Lumber Woosner, is our next presenter. And patents, I think, can be a little bit of a, speaking of fear, can be a little bit of a scary topic and maybe not that easy to understand and get your arms around. And so David came to me with an idea of when a house is like a patent, and I thought that would be a wonderful concept to share with everybody to hopefully make patents a little bit more approachable. David Black.
Where's our computer? There he is. Ken, we're ready to go. Okay, folks, my name is Dave Black. We're here to talk about business. One thing I do know about everybody in this room is you're interested in growing, interested in making your business better, interested in improving society. And so at bottom, this means we're going to be raising some money, generating revenue. And one of the key considerations for generating revenue is capturing some of the assets that you have. And that includes, most importantly, in many businesses, capturing the intellectual property. Those are patents. And so to help you understand patents today, we're going to make an analogy here and talk about how a patent compares with a house, a piece of real estate, for example. So let's go through some of the basics here. How do you get a house? You pay cash. You pay money for the house. You pay your money and you receive a deed. And so there's really no application process here, notwithstanding the application for a loan, but it's payment of cash for a house, and that's how you end up with a deed. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking for a patent, you have to apply, and a patent requires passing certain thresholds, minimum performance, and you have to qualify. Your idea has to be sufficiently clever in order to get a patent. And so we think in terms of what does it take to really get a patent, because it's an application. Some of the elements that have to go into it is your idea has to be sufficiently new, something that's not been done before. Another important consideration is your idea has to be non-obvious. We have a picture of Captain Obvious before us, and the point here is it has to be something where somebody says, wow, I never would have thought of that. And then, of course, it also has to have a certain utility. And by its very nature, each patent is unique. It's not like all the ticky-tacky houses in a row, but each patent is different than anything else before it. And so it's a time-wise calculation. And that's one of the failures with thinking about it in terms of a real estate metaphor, but it still helps us think about it. How do we negotiate and obtain real estate? Well, like I say, you're paying cash or some money, but it boils down to a negotiation between a seller and a buyer. And at the end of the day, those are the parties that have to be satisfied. A meeting of the mind to reach a conclusion and obtain a piece of real estate, acquire real estate. With regard to obtaining a patent, the challenge before you is it's an application. So you have to go in front of the public. And on behalf of the public, the patent examiner is going to scrutinize your application and decide whether it's worthy or not of a patent. And when it comes to owning and continuing to own your real estate, for example, you have to pay on a regular basis annual property taxes. For Minnesota, that falls in May and October, and they're on an annual basis. Failure to pay the taxes means you lose your house. On the other hand, when it comes to owning intellectual property, there are maintenance fees to be paid, and those occur at fixed time intervals of 3.5, 7.5, and 11.5 years after the time of grant. Failure to pay your patent maintenance fees means that the patent lapses and it becomes available for others in the world to use. So people also ask me quite commonly, what does it cost to get a patent? And we think about that in terms of a house purchase again. How much do you want to spend for a house? Is a small one going to meet your needs? Do you need something a little larger? And what are your objectives for making this purchase? Why are you buying this? In terms of a patent, those costs can vary quite widely as well. They range from the very simplest patent application for a very, very simple idea, maybe not, you can get a patent for that, but to a far more complicated patent which covers a wider variety of technical aspects in your innovation. So you may have all different needs. It covers a spectrum. How long does it take to get a patent or get a house. In terms of a real estate transaction, we measure it probably in terms of weeks or maybe a month or two for a closing and all the paperwork to be completed. When it comes to acquiring a patent, on the other hand, the spectrum is a little bit different. Now we're talking about a schedule that can be measured in terms of years. There are mechanisms by which you can speed up the application process, but those come with costs, as you would imagine. But typically we look at timelines of 2 to 4 years to obtain a patent. So once you have your patent, then of course the natural question is, what can you do with it? Looking at a house metaphor, we know that you can enjoy your home, you can enjoy your property, you have peace and quiet, and you're not going to be bothered. You can do a lot of things, but it's not completely unchecked. For example, you can't put up a 6-unit apartment building in your backyard without getting a variety of approvals. With regard to a patent, the patent gives you an exclusionary right, which means you can stop others from encroaching in your fence line within the bounds of your application, of your technology that's outlined in the patent itself. So you can ask people to leave. You can stop them from practicing, stop them from making, using, or selling something. Another important question is, what happens if I move into the marketplace with my new technology? Am I going to get in trouble with regard to practicing some technology? And so now we have to look at the patents held by others. You may be stepping on somebody else's mousetrap, and we want to avoid that. For purposes of most businesses, we have a variety of patents, a number of patents that we're interested in obtaining. Similarly, for a house, you're probably only looking at a single residence. Maybe you own 2, but few people own more than 3 homes in our society. On the other hand, when it comes to an intellectual property asset, most folks find it particularly valuable to have a number of arrows in their quiver. And this gives them the opportunity to take on all sorts of challenges to the business that they are trying to conduct. So you may have patents that cover a varying scope of the technology that you're interested in working with. So I leave you with a final question here, and this is our number 3 question, and that is, what sort of a patent portfolio is right for your business?